Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Writing Visual Studio Extensions with Mats. That's me. And today, we've got the talented Mr. John Galloway as the producer in the background. Hello, John.
Hello. I am very happy to be here. Visual Studio 2022, just the first preview just out.
You have it installed, John?
I do. I have it partly working. I'm trying to install all the betas of everything. And so currently some things work on my machine.
That's good. Good to hear.
Yeah.
I'm really excited because we get to show Visual Studio 2022 for the very first time. And so, I've been dying to show the extenders here in this show every week, some of the new cool stuff and how to upgrade your extensions, because I've been going at it for a little bit. I've been using it as my main driver for, I'd say, a couple of months. And just absolutely been loving it. So it feels
like high level, how different, so definitely I've seen, it's 64-bit. That's all everyone talks about. It's 64-bit. I mean, scale of 1 to 10. How different is it for extenders, especially?
There's no new tooling for extenders. There's a few additions to the existing one kind of to deal with the move to 64-bit, and we'll be looking at that today. But other than that, it's the same. You still hit F5. It opens in the experimental instance. You can hit your breakpoints the same way. All that stuff seems to be the same. I have felt like performance improvements on like F5 scenarios, the way that it opens the experimental instance and attach the debugger seems to be faster.
Wow.
Is that me kind of imagining things or whatever? I don't know. I don't have these big, huge solutions that is more easy to like measure on, maybe,
Yeah.
But I've loved it. It's been a great experience. It's been it feels more stable. It doesn't hang. It's like kind of smooth operation.
So in addition to the 64-bit, are there any other like features that people don't talk about that you really like?
Yeah, there's one that that people have started talking about a little bit, which is the whole line completion, which is funny because I've been using that for like 3 months or something. Even before Dev 17, I used it on 2019. Where it was behind a feature flag, but maybe internal only in the beginning. And people have been asking here on this show, like, what is that? And so that's really cool. It's basically AI that predicts the entire line that you're about to write. And you can just tap to insert that entire line if it's correct.
So it's IntelliCode to the next level.
It's ridiculous. It's magic.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. I'm excited.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is cool. People know, it's interesting because I most of the time I'm not opening huge solutions. But it is interesting. You talk to people that in an enterprise and they're they have a solution with 100 projects or something. And it really makes a big difference how much you can load up.
Yeah, it does.
So, wow. And
the good thing is what is faster for the huge solutions will trickle down and be faster for the small solution as well. It's just that we don't necessarily notice it as much for the smaller things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's take Alexander's question here first.
Interesting. Oops. We both clicked at the same
time. Still using Visual Studio 2005. Which doesn't work with the 2022 preview. Can you say if that's on purpose?
So VSS, Visual Source Safe.
Oh, okay. Source Safe. That is probably on purpose. I think that was retired. Visual Studio 2022 I don't think it's the first version that dropped support for that. I think it's been a while since there's been support for Source Safe.
So, and this sort of thing, there's you can assume Microsoft's being evil and they're trying to force me to whatever. But really, a lot of the time, there's any project as you're working, you remove features that are very that aren't used or aren't supported, and they make you have to do that. Otherwise, people talk about, hey, Visual Studio's bloated and it's it's slow to open. And it's well, if you're supporting things from 15 years ago or whatever, that's part of that. So.
I don't know when the last version of Source Safe was, but I think maybe it was in the 90s. And so I could be wrong, but because TFS took over, I think it's the same team that did Source Safe that then did TFS, and I think that transition was in the 90s at some point. So, yeah, where's Visual Fox Pro? Sorry. All right. So let's jump to my screen real quick.
All right, let's
this
see
has
it.
come up. This has come up, and I'm going to minimize you, John. Sorry about that, so I can
No
get
worries.
some of my CPU. When the video is running here, it's using up too much of my CPU. There we go. So, yep, sorry, you're minimized. Someone is asking if something is wrong with the audio. Is that just one person, or can people hear us just fine? Okay, so we've been sharing a link on Twitter and on the blog post and elsewhere about how to migrate your extension to Visual Studio 2022. Let me just start by saying this. I'm going to mess this up a million times going forward. Visual Studio 2022, I also will call sometimes Visual Studio 17 or Dev 17 because it's the 17th version of Visual Studio. It's really confusing. So sometimes when I say 17, I don't mean Visual Studio 2017 because that was Visual Studio 15. So anyway, it's still a little bit confusing about this for extenders that have to know about the we have to know about the version number, right? The 17.0, the 16.0, and so on. Anyway, so we shared out this document on how to migrate your extension to Visual Studio 2022, and it basically tells you. Let me scroll here. At some point when we have, here we go. Let me zoom in. Here's what it is. First, modernize your project. Okay, so if your V6 project has doesn't use NuGet for the references, but you reference the individual DLLs from disk, for instance, or from the GAC, because you have an old version of Visual Studio still installed that puts them in the GAC, you need to modernize them. You need to put them in, use the meta package, use the package reference syntax instead of packages.config, and so on. And then it wants you to split. So that's what's called here. Number 2, refactor your code into a shared project to allow for targeting Visual Studio 2022 and then also older versions. Okay. That is the thing that we need to talk about. Because I feel like this is not true necessarily. You don't necessarily have to split your extension for it to work on both Visual Studio 2019 and 2022. Or 2017, 2019, and 2022. There is a chance that your extension will work on all of those without you having to split into separate extensions. So I think what we need to do first is to take a step back, and we have to go down a decision tree. Right? So let's see the decision tree. There are 2 branches. On one side, we can see if our extension will work as it is, and then go down that path that says, okay, let's add 2022 support to our existing extension. The other path is, no, there's incompatibilities with the APIs I'm using. I have to do the code split and basically have an extension that's specific for 2022. So now I have 2 extensions. And that's what this documentation tells us how to do that. And we're going to see that today. I'm going to show you that too. But I want to start at the top to figure out which path of those to take. And this is not like, I'm not going to say, hey, I think you should go one or the other. This is like individual from extension to extension. It completely depends on what APIs that you're using. And that has to do with the way that the interrupt assemblies work in 2022, which is completely different than before. So you might use a service in your extension that works fine in 2017 and 2019, but that service may have the same name. It may even have the same methods, but you can't use it when you're referencing that service using an API from 2017 or 2019. Okay, so that sounds kind of weird. So let's just see how that actually works out. So let's start at the top of the tree, the decision tree. Let's figure out whether our extension can add 2022 support or it needs to be split. Okay, so here I have an extension. This is the most basic extension in the entire world. It's basically file new project, V6 project, and then add a command. And then in my command, what do? I grab the DTE, and I write out the DTE.version as the title of that execution, like the invocation method of my command. Just basically has a message box that prints out the version of Visual Studio hanging off of the DTE object. So let's see it in action. This is very exciting extension. It's called invoke my command. And it writes out 16.0. Okay, 16.0, because I'm in Visual Studio 2019 right now. And that's where we want to start. We want to start in 2019. We want to start with what works today. Okay. Okay, so now we're good. Well, actually, I just want to make sure that it works now. So I'm using 2019 because I know that works for this particular extension, and I just demonstrated that this extension works perfectly for what it was designed to do. Okay, so let's now open this very same extension, and it was called V611. Now let's open this in Visual Studio 2022. V611, here we go. All right. It's the same code. Let's see here. Will it build? I'm going to just do a rebuild just to see. Produces the DLL. It's working on the V6 file. And boom, yeah, it succeeded. So just out of the gate, this works fine. Problem solved, upload it to the marketplace. We're good. Like there's nothing here. I just add support for it. Well, not so fast. Let's run this. And this is the key. In order for you to figure out, first of all, does it compile? Well, let's see if it will compile against 2017. So we haven't done that yet. So now I'm compiling against, let's see here, the SDK version 16. Okay. So I'm compiling not against Visual Studio 17, but against the API of 16, which is what we normally do when we support multiple versions. That's always kind of fine. But as I said, we do change some things. Our interop assemblies and our things are not the same anymore. So I'm just going to update this to 17. And that should be pretty quick. There we go. I'm going to do a rebuild. Let's see here what happens. So now I'm compiling against the new API, and that works too. Okay, one step closer. That means that they are the API surface I'm using of the 16 API also compiles just fine against the 17 version of the API, okay, the Visual Studio SDK. So I'm not using anything that has changed from a contract perspective. Okay, so this is the first step you do. The next step is I'm going to hit F5, not Control F5, but F5 because I want to attach the debugger in this case. Oh, what is this? Managed? I have never seen this before. It might be because, let's just stop this. I also have to update the build tools to the latest. It was already the latest, wasn't it? No, it was 16. It was 16. Okay, so let's try this again. I just took the latest nightly build. I hope I didn't, there's not an issue with the debugger here. Let's see. So we want to make sure that we build it. Your app has entered a break state, but no. What is this? Okay, so let's just do a clean, and then let's do a Control F5. So we're not going to attach the debugger. Okay, so this might be just a little fluke in the nightly build that I've got here. All right. So
while you're spinning that up, there's a few questions in discussion about whether there will be a 32-bit, about whether there will be a 32-bit version or
No.
if it's only 64. So only 64 for, yep. You can still build 32-bit apps, but the application itself is 64-bit.
Yeah, that's right.
Very cool.
Okay, invoke my command. 17. It was supposed to. Oh. So here we go. So now it's running. It's working fine. Okay, but that's not what I wanted. I don't want this to target. I want it still to use 16.0. So I'm going to downgrade my NuGet package again of the SDK to 16.0, because if I target 17.0, it doesn't work in 2019. I want to have an extension. I want to test whether or not this extension is going to work in both 2019 and 2022. And so I used the API that is the lowest common denominator, in this case, the SDK from 16.0, right? So I forgot to do that before I actually ran this. But it's good to know. So it actually runs fine. It executes. All the functionality of this extension has now been tested. I've tried it. All the code paths run correctly when I'm using the 17 SDK. So that means that there's no sort of breaking changes from an API contract perspective or anything like that. So now let's try when we're using the 16 version, which is what I want to do. So let's run this again. And boom, method not found. And it says it couldn't find the DTE.version property. What? What do you mean couldn't find the DTE.version property? Well, that's just crazy. It's a string. Come on. So why is it that it couldn't find this particular property? It's right here, DT.version. It compiled fine. It worked when I used the 17, so I know that the property exists on both the 16 and on the 17 version of the API. So why doesn't it work? It makes no sense, right? So it's because of that interrupt stuff. So, and I'm going to get this wrong. So this is going to be just me babbling, but to give you an idea of what it is. So if I find the DTE, let's go to definition of the DTE. Yep. You can see the DTE inherits from underscore DTE. Okay. That means that the DTE itself is empty. You see, there's nothing in here. There are no classes. There's nothing in here. It's all in the underscore DTE. So that's just the kind of the way under the hood that it works. Okay. Now this is in version 16. In version 16 of the EBS SDK. In version 17, I'm not going to upgrade. I'm just going to tell you what it is. These two are going to be the exact opposite. One now, the underscore DT or something like that is going to inherit from the DT, or the DT is going to inherit from something else, which means that the DT is now empty. Because the DT is now inheriting from underscore DT, which in 17 is empty. Something like that. And so there's no methods, there's no properties, there's no nothing actually on the DTE object itself. At runtime is when we find out, and not before. So that's problematic. Does that mean that every extension using the DTE will not work on both 2019 and 2022?
Mads, there's a question from Blake. He said, how come those DTE errors aren't handled by Visual Studio? So he had this in a package constructor and had to look through package logs. Is there a way that Visual Studio could handle this for us?
No, the DT hasn't been touched for many years, and so that's not going to change.
Okay.
There's also yeah. So if you did it in a constructor in a MEF class, for instance, you would get a different error message because it would handle some of the things for you. And so it's depending on how you're using it, you'll get different error handling scenarios. So in the case of just a command that you execute, like basically an IOLA command target that's being executed under the hood is what this is. is not handling anything for you. And so you get kind of this ugly error. So you need to try catch. But that's why it's important that we don't just compile it. We also go test that it works. Now, does that mean that if I use the DTE, it won't work? I cannot support both 2019 and 2022 in each in the same extension. Now that's what I thought, and then I was I was digging a little deeper. Now check this out. There's a new version of the DTE called DT2. So in all its simplicity, if I just change DTE to DTE2, I think these are the only two places. No. Where else? Up here, DTE2. Then, because its inheritance chain is different, so it does not inherit from underscore DT or whatever it inherits from in 20 or however it's implemented in 2019 also works in 2017. So if we just update all our references, we should now see that if I execute the same command, we should see it says 17. Okay, so now the DTE object works. So that means get rid of all DTEs and replace them all with DTE2. All right. So that was like a gotcha that took me a while, and I was like kind of panicking because I used the DTE in so many places. There's a few gotchas. Like if you go in and say, say DTE dot solution. Find a project item, and you give it a path, and now you have your project item. I'm going to say, give me the project of this, and then give me the DTE again here. Now the DTE, that's when it's on a property of things, is always DTE, it's never DTE2. So even though you got this originally from the DTE2, you get the DTE down here. So either use that and cast it to DTE2, or just don't use it when it hangs up, when it's a property hanging off objects like this. So that's the gotcha. I have seen that some people have reported issues, and I haven't actually looked at this myself, that when they go in and they do events, and when they look at solution events, that might throw. So if you want to listen to the after closing event like this, that's going to throw an exception. So I've used other events, not solution events, but other events, and that seemed to work fine. But then I was thinking, if you're doing that, don't use the DT for solution events. Instead, use Microsoft Visual Studio Shell events. Oh, where are your events? And then solution events. And then look at this. You got a bunch more to look for. Look at all these event traffic. You have many, many more. This is where you want to be. This works. So just use this instead of the DTE solution events. Okay. So far, so good. So far, so good. So we have now concluded that I can use, with a few tweaks here, in this case to the DTE, I can use this same extension on both 2019 and 2022. So all I have to do is to add that support. So I have to come in to, let me just clean this up a little bit, come into my V6 manifest and say, hey, I support 17 and 18. And I need to not self-close this. So I'm going to close it normally, or not normally. I'm going to close it like this. I'm going to put in product architecture and give it an AMD 64 right there. That's it. That's it, folks. This extension now runs on both. Oh, not quite. Look at this. This one stops at 17. That's why I kind of hate that it's like that. I want it to be open-ended when it comes to prerequisites. In my view, should always be open-ended. Installation targets up here should never be open-ended, ever, ever, ever. But prerequisites, they should. So now all we have to do is to build this. We want to do one final check, and that is to come in and double-click it. And we want to make sure that it does, in fact, offer to install on both 2019 and 2022. So if I have both of those installed and on my machine, it should come up with those two checkboxes. And that means that it correctly recognizes that change I've got. in the V6 manifest with the AMD 64, and it looks like that's all correct. So that's it. So that's all we have to do.
So there's a few questions that have come in with that one, which is, could we make a helper, like a conditional compile, to use either DT or DT2 on the fly?
There's never a scenario where the DTE works where the DT2 doesn't. So stop using DTE and just switch over. The DT2 has the same features plus more. So just never use the DT. Always use the DT2. I think for a sake of simplicity, that's the easiest way to go about it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So another question is like an extension or just seems like a refactor. What a Roslyn refactoring thing to do that would also be good, like a code fix, right? I mean, it's easy enough to just fix it in the thing, but
that would be. So I thought about that. That analyzer has to know whether or not you're targeting Visual Studio 2022. Otherwise, it's just noise, right? Because otherwise, it would warn you about something that doesn't apply. So if it could figure that out, then, or maybe it could just listen to if the version of Visual Studio that is currently running is 2022, then just assume from there. Yeah, yeah. I think you can. I think that would be an acceptable thing. Yep.
Cool.
Okay. So now, our decision tree, right? We've now chosen our path in our decision tree. We've decided that, hey, we can actually support both 2019 and 2022 in the same extension package. And I can now upload my changes. And I'm done. And I'm happy that that was all it was. I have converted quite the number of extensions. Let's see if I can figure it out. And then we say publisher, your publisher name. And then we say version 2022. I've got 42. Okay, 42 extensions now currently supporting 2022. And the vast majority of these support 2019 as well. Of course, a snippet pack doesn't have any code in it. So that will just work, right? So there's a bunch of, well, there's like 3 or 4 snippet packs in here. Insert Guit. That's also very simple. It's just a command, just like the one I was showing, that then grabs the text buffer and inserts some text. And that does not cross over those interrupt boundaries that are incompatible. So that also just works. And a lot of them kind of just works. A lot of my extensions are very simple, though. So keep that in mind. They don't do many things. They kind of, they're single purpose extensions. So if you have some of those, then there's a good chance that this will work. Now let's look at one where I know it doesn't work. And that's actually one that we need for our extension development, and that's the known moniker explorer. Let's load that up. And the known moniker explorer. Oh, you do want to reload? Yeah, sure. Here's the known moniker explorer, right? So it's a tool window that gives me all the icons, Azure functions. That's a snazzy looking icon. So that's cool. I know for a fact that this will not work in 2022 because I tried and it failed, and I'll tell you exactly why. Unfortunately, if you have a tool window, now I've only tried this with async tool windows. It may not be the case if you don't have async tool windows, but for async tool window extensions, this will not work. You have to split the extension. Okay. The other case that I found, where is that? Oh, okay, it's in there. The other case that I found, in this case, it actually uses the image service behind the scene. And how does it do that? Tool window. Let's find it. Image. It's called to bitmap, I think. Let's try that. Search for that. Here we go. So it uses an extension method that comes from the toolkit, the community toolkit. and it uses the image service 2 interface, the IVS image service 2. And it's one of those interrupt assemblies that has inequalities between 2019 and 2022. So there are interfaces that if you use them and they're one of the things that have breaking changes in them, sorry, you have to do a code split unless you can figure out a way to use an alternative API. Like maybe there's a different service that does the same thing through the DTE, through some other mechanism. Maybe there's a NuGet package that does the same thing but doesn't use Visual Studio APIs for it. Like you could try different things, but unfortunately we can't just use the code as is. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to split this extension in two. So that means we're going to rename this one to 2019, like that. I'll just close down everything here. So 2019. Now let me go into, let's see here how we split it. So in my source, I have everything right here. I'm now going to create a new folder. I'm going to call this known monikers explorer 2019. Okay. I have to, let me just close the Visual Studio here. Let me nuke bin and obj just because. And then I'm going to take all this stuff and put into my new folder because I'm going to have several projects inside my source folder here. And then I like to just update my, let's see here, this one, my solution file SLN, because I need to update the path to contain that new folder name like that. Done. So now I can go in and open, oh, what did I do? Open known monikers explorer. And it should open just fine, like as if nothing happened. Okay. Oh, there's one thing that won't work. And that is the license file. I forgot about that one. Because the license is one that I have in the root of my repo. And I reference it from the CS proj. So and I'm now made that path like one level deeper. So let's just find the license. There it is. There it is. And we save that. And you want to reload? Yes. Okay. Cool. Let's just build that. Let's make sure that we can still compile. Everything is fine. So we're now compiling, against the 2019 APIs. Everything is just fine here. So let's add a new project. So by the way, I've not done this on this extension before. So we'll see how far we get. I'm going to add a shared project. And I'm going to call this known monikers explorer shared. And I'm going to put it into the SRC folder. And so now we have that. So now I can start moving things in there. I want to move my SAML, my tool windows, my commands, and my package class. So this and this. Control X to cut it and paste it into my known monikers. There we go. And then I'm going to add a reference to shared project. There we go. So this is a shared project is basically kind of like a folder where you automatically link all the files into the project that's referencing it. Right. So now we have our known monikers shared right here. So let's just try. Fingers crossed. I don't know what happens if I put SAML in there. Ooh. Aha! It worked. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Cool. So let's close out of Visual Studio. I didn't have to actually at all. So anyway, so now we have our, I'm now going to go in here. Let's delete the bin and obj folders of my 2019. I'm going to copy this and paste it. And we're going to call this new copy 2022. And we can come in here and rename this to 2022. And we have to make an update. So I'm just going to do that in VS Code right here. So whenever we copy a project, we want to make sure that the GUID of that project is different from the one, right? Because the way a solution file keeps track of its project is by ID. And so we want to do that. So I'm just like changing one, making one change to one of the numbers in my GUID here. I totally did not have to close Visual Studio for this to happen, but I did. So there is that. So now I can just go in here, right click my solution, and I can go in here and say add existing project. And we're going to call this, where are we now in Moniker Explorer? There we go. Source, VS 2022, boom. So now I have two. I'm going to make that by startup project. There we go. And then I'm going to look at some NuGet packages. And I got the toolkit. And you see here, the toolkit is 16. So that's the VS SDK version, 16. I'm going to move that to 17. And I'm going to update that because in this extension, we want to target 17.0 specific, this API from 17.0. And right now we get like 2 compiler warnings. It's just because the extensibility team haven't uploaded these 2 in the right version. So unless you're doing any language server, it's going to be just fine. So ignore this for now. This is just because we're in preview. By the time you try this yourself, this might have been resolved already. So don't think the world's going to end because you see those compiler warnings. You're dealing with a preview SDK, and so it's kind of expected, right? Okay. I forgot 2 very important things. One was I'm now going to open the 2019 one. I forgot to add the name 2019 to it. So when I upload an update to the marketplace, it says 2019. And I have to do that in my other one as well, 2022 it says, but I want the V6 ID to be different. So I'm going to just change one character of the GUID here, just so it's different. So that's kind of cool. So now these are different, and they both use the right version of the. Do they use the build tools? Let's see here. Oh, I have it right here. No updates. This doesn't use build tools. Okay, so my CI server does not have Visual Studio 2017. Sorry, Visual Studio 2022 installed. So I have to build it using Visual Studio 2019, which is there. So I just need to install the latest version of the build tools. So build tools basically are build targets that Visual Studio will, or MS Build will use to build your solution or your project rather. And if you don't have it, it will just use whatever Visual Studio has. But in this case, because on the CI server, I don't have Visual Studio 2022, it will use an earlier version. And you will actually get compiler errors for that modification that we're making to our extension V6 manifest. So in here, I want to say, I don't want to support 17. I want to 16. I want to go straight to 17. And we're going to do the same thing here. Product architecture, AMD 64. Okay, so my 2022 only supports 17 and up, version 17, whereas my 2019 only supports 16 up to, but not including 17, so all of 16. So let's run this. I'm going to Control F5 it, and I should probably have just done F5. We'll see what happens. Because we already did build 2019, it might have deployed it to the experimental instance. So I'm going to show a little trick because now we have potentially 2 extensions, right? They each have their ID. So we want to make sure that we just have one. So I might have to like open this up and close it down again. So installed, let's see here. Yeah, you see this? So I want to disable this one. That's the old one. Disable that. I could also uninstall it. So let's do it this way. And then what I can do is that I can go to properties on my 2019, go down to v6 and uncheck the one that says deploy v6 content to experimental instance for debugging. So that happens on build. So now I don't accidentally build this extension and deploy it to my 2022. This is going to be annoying when I go back to 2019, but at this point, there's no reason, right? If I get a brand new machine, which I will soon, next time I get a new machine that's and Visual Studio 2022 is out, it's been officially released. It's a GA version. I don't know if I'm going to install 2019, and I don't have to, right? And so, so this won't be annoying, but it could be annoying if you sometimes use 2019 and sometimes use 2022.
Hey, we got a few questions that came in. Just wanted to jump into those. One was, let me see. Why is the production architecture property required if 2022 is 64-bit only?
Well, in the beginning, we didn't know if it was going to be just 64-bit only. So we kind of just did that. Another reason, because then we would be able to handle it. Another reason is that if you might want to, what is it? Potentially you have to add the x86 to your 2019 installation target if your extension supports more than one. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But then there's also the idea of there's a bunch of extensions out on the marketplace where people have done open-ended versions. That means, I support Visual Studio 2010 and any versions to come in the future.
Forever.
And that's not true, right? They've been abandoned years ago, but they're still doing that. So by us having to come in and do that, we at least know that we've checked for whether or not it works, right? And they won't show up as false positives anymore in the marketplace, all those ones that have open-ended versions.
Okay. Another question on whether using the community toolkit minimizes the need to split extensions.
It will not minimize. No, it will not. But it will potentially do it so that you have to change fewer things. So for instance, if you use the toolkit to get the DTE, that is always DTE2. Once I figured this out, that there was an issue there, I actually went back and changed all instances of DTE to be DTE2. And all instances of _DTE as well to be DTE2. So basically forcing that. There was one other thing that had to do with settings. So if you use settings, I made a modification so that also now works with 2022, which it wouldn't before. So you are guarded. You are more guarded using the toolkit than if you weren't. But if you're using a let's say IVS image service that has interoperability inequalities between those two, then it doesn't matter if the toolkit is there or not. It doesn't matter if the use of that API was abstracted by the toolkit by a helper method or extension method or something like that. It still uses that under the hood and it's still not compatible because of it.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the unfortunate thing.
Okay. Question here from Jeremiah wanting to install Visual Basic 2010. Gosh, I don't even know if that's, I don't know. Sorry. I thought it was Visual Studio 2010 when I first read it. So, all right.
If it's Visual Studio 2010, that's out of support and not available to download anywhere.
Yeah. And what we'd recommend, just install Community 2019 or 2022, right? I mean, they're free.
Yeah, do enterprise. The good thing about this preview is that it doesn't require you to have an enterprise license to try the enterprise preview. So there is that.
Okay, question here. Does Visual Studio, so I honestly don't know what this question's asking. Maybe you will. Does Visual Studio 2022 run on AVD or VWD?
Windows Virtual Desktop and maybe Azure. I don't know. It doesn't run as an Office app does, where it's
like the click once is sort of install, right?
No, it's more like where you are. It's hosted on a VM, but it shows up in your taskbar and it behaves just like any other app, even though it's technically, you can't tell unless you know, you don't know, but it's technically running on a different machine or a VM.
Wow.
But it shows up on your Windows as it was normal. Find out or let me know. I would be interested in knowing. That would be cool.
Okay. One other question here.
I don't think we've done anything specifically to light up certain things, but it would be. I would just be interested in knowing what the experience was if you did use it through WVD.
Okay.
Yep.
Question about will Java be supported? So I know we are working and contributing to Java now. There's some Microsoft JDK contribution. I don't think we've announced anything about changes to Java support.
No, I don't. I haven't heard anything about any updates to the Java.
Okay, cool. All right, one last one here. Does it support WSL2? So yeah, I would expect there's no. I mean, we support that in 2019. So
yeah, so you can even run and debug your .NET Core apps on WSL2, and you can also run unit tests on that. It might not be everything that's online in the first preview, which we also put out there on the known issues or whatever. There's a few things that are not in, but that will be in for the next preview and definitely in for the final version of 2022. But yeah, you'll have like both for C++ and for .NET, there's a lot of WSL2 goodness.
Cool.
All right.
I think I'll disappear and let you go back to coding.
Well, this was good that we did that because it kind of just built the excitement, because now it's time to see if things work. And I'm kind of almost scared. What if it doesn't work? So view are the windows, known monikers Explorer. So when I click this, we will know whether it worked. Look at that. Okay. Let's open it. Double click. Don't crash. It's crashing. Okay, what's going on in there? Okay, so something happened. Oh, it just decided to like reboot. The previous session enabled unexpected. Do you want to disable the extension? No, it's okay. I'm working on it, man. Okay, so something, and it was when I opened. So when I so some of the SAML was fine, right? So this SAML here was fine. It was when I double clicked. So mouse double click, it executed this method. Aha! This was another one I found. Yes. Okay. Another hot tip. If you are ever popping a dialog and you are H-winning it to the main window in Visual Studio, here's how I've been doing it. I've been getting the DT, and see here, I'm getting the regular DT. It's not even it actually is the DT too. But this is one where it doesn't work. This doesn't work for some reason in 2022. So the way to do this is we can actually just nuke this utility like this, and then we do application. Oh, what did I just do? I introduced something. Oh, parameter. Why would I introduce a parameter for application? Application.current.main window. There we go. So that's actually how we want to do this. So I don't know if I need do I need the DT anymore at all? What did I use the DT for? Let's figure it out. Save image. DTE. Oh, commands. I'm raising a command. Okay. All right. Yeah, so that's fine. Okay, so I think I expect this to be the issue. Oh, what did I just do? Did I just say no? I don't. You can use the previously thing. Previous. Hang on now. Unable to load argument for XML peak task. I don't even know what that means. Let's just rebuild. What? Okay. Limit use of blocking calls. So I'm running this. Yeah, that's a different story. I'm just gonna run this. We can look at this later if we need to. So because I have two extensions that I want to update. One is this one. There's only two extensions that we need to have our extensibility essentials complete. This is one. Okay. Other windows. Gnome Monikers Explorer. Boom. I don't know if you noticed this, John, but when I ran this on 2019, it took much longer for those icons to show up. It was like it had to like process those bitmaps or whatever before. Now they're just like so quick.
Like fire. Yep.
Yeah.
Double the bits.
I
amazing.
just double click and it came up.
Whoa.
So let's save this, export this. Let's just put it to desktop, save, boom. And I can also right click and say copy name to clipboard. Let's just paste it in. Does that work? That also works. You know what? What about search? Abbreviation. That works. So now this extension works. Haha. So let's just do some housekeeping here. Let's look at, I always kind of like to look at my V6 package to just see if there's anything weird going on inside. The toolkit is in there, and the known monikers DLL itself is in there. There's no other artifacts from like NuGet packages from the SDK itself. So this is exactly what I want it to look like. Let us do the thing where we commit this to source control. So what we did here is we added support for VS 2022. And we did that by splitting the extension. So let's see here what's going on. Here is my CI build. And we're going to go to the marketplace, and I'm going to update some stuff. I'm going to look for, what is a known moniker explorer. So this is the old one, the current one. I want to update that. So I'm going to go in here because I want it to be called 2019 now, right? So my CI build, oh, now it's kicked off. Fingers crossed. It was already building against, yeah. And actually, I know already that there's some issues here. So first of all, this one is now known monikers Explorer 2019, right? And there's one again on 2022. So they're now there. And then, as if that weren't enough, we also want to update. So this is now specific to AppVeyor. So this is potentially boring and doesn't apply to you, but you know, I want to see the full end-to-end here because otherwise I can't update. So increment the V6 version based on the build version of that. Updated build script. Control Enter. Okay. The other extension that doesn't work is, let's see if we can find it. We can't find it under 2022. We can find it under 2019. I'm going to just search for VSCT. VSCT Intelligence. That's the one. Look, this is kind of old. I need to update this completely, these screenshots and everything, because this no longer represents kind of what its awesomeness. And I should show you what that. Let me just show you the awesomeness there is, the VSCT intelligence. Okay, where was this thing I was doing? Here we go. Okay, now the build should work. Cannot find C dot sort. Oh, I did a typo. I can hardly believe it. Why is that? Why is that making? What was that thing I did? It was Tweakster, wasn't it? So let me see what I did with Tweakster. It goes in, it does source, known monikers explore. Did I misspell this? It has a dot in front. And this. Okay, but funny enough, it actually finished uploading to the V6 marketplace, but that's not good enough. Okay, I'm just gonna see here. Maybe I misspelled something. If there's anyone that can see what's going on, let me double check my spelling. It's totally possible that I misspelled. Wouldn't be the first time. That seems to be right.
We have our first guess in. Alexander says a backslash is missing.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. Fixed. I'm just going to write fixed because I'm so confident. There we go. Okay, so let's see the awesomeness in 2019. Okay, so I'm opening. Let me just get rid of the comments in this file. So here I have my like VSCT file, and I'm going to include something. And check this out: VS Globals. If VS Globals is there, instead of doing something weird like tools, let's say I wanted other windows or whatever, like I can't just say other, right? So okay, what do we do? So let's do something. Let's do main menu. Let's do VS main menu, and now I can say other windows. Look at this. It gives you that full view of the navigation of the top level view menu, so you can see what the different things are called. So say, yeah, I want it in other windows, right here. Oh. So there's a lot of awesomeness to, and I can mouse over and it will show me where that goes right there. So anyway, this is a crucial thing to have. And also we get IntelliSense in here, right? You get IntelliSense for whatever is defined, like, so it's like, you can't not have this extension. It's super critical. And we can see now everything worked. If I go to Chrome, go to V6 Gallery, we can see that did not update. Why did that not update? It should not be 99999. It should be 41. 1.2.41. No. So what's up with that? What is it? Update build version. Okay, whatever. I'm just gonna upload it. So let's download these two. There we go. I'm going here. This was the 2019 version, so that's this one. And while I'm here, I'm just going to copy what we had before. Save and upload this. And then we can go in here and update. See, it's currently running. It's verifying. So while it's doing its thing, let's go in and upload our 2022. There we go. Continue with that. We're going to call it Known Monikers Explorer 2022 as in the URL. I'm going to just paste in that text we just did. What category is this? There's something called extension. Isn't there something called extension SDK and tags? V6 known monikers or image. Yeah. Extension. There's no such thing. So let's just keep it to that. It's free, and let's get the copy link to the repo. It's right there. and save and upload. Boom. So now we have 2019, 2022, both uploading, verifying here side by side. This is a glorious day, glorious day. Good. Enough of that. Let's move on to this other one that I was mentioning, the VSCT. And I'll explain to you why that one failed. VSCT intelligence, what would I have called? Oh, here it is. The reason this one doesn't work is that what it does, if I include, I don't even have to include it. I should just be able to say image catalog good. If I want to use known monikers for save, let's say, see here how I get the icon showing up on the screen there next to. So they use the image service, right? The IVS image service to translate an image moniker into a bitmap. And again, that's one of those interrupt assemblies that cannot. So if I didn't care about this particular one feature, I could actually make this work in both, and I have made this work in both 2019 and 2022. But it just so happens to be that I actually do care about that feature. I do think it's an important feature to have. Before we move on, John, have you noticed any questions before I jump into this next extension?
I was waiting for the chance here. Okay, Blake is asking, is there a way to force include dependencies in a v6? So he has some that are not being included via package reference.
So you want, if you want the DLL file to show up inside your extension package, inside your v6, yeah, you can totally do that. You could potentially just go to your NuGet package, find the version of the DLL, directly copy it to, let's say, the root of your v6 project, and set it as content and include in v6. Then it will end up in there.
Okay.
So that's one way of doing it. That's how I've been doing it in the past.
All right. Tomas is asking if we need two separate extensions on VS Marketplace if we're using splitting.
Yes, you have to. So as it is right now, and nothing will change in that regard, at least until GA of 2022. I'm not sure of any timelines, I'm not even sure that it's like fully committed, but I do think that they're going to make that possible.
Okay. Question from Matt asking, what do you do with an extension pack, or what happens with an extension pack that supports VS 2022, but it references extensions that don't? Will they be added to VS when those extensions do eventually support Dev 17?
Yeah, so that's cool. That actually doesn't change from today at all. So what you can do is that you can have one extension pack that has your two split extensions in them. So I have now a known monikers Explorer 2019 and 2022. I could have a extension pack just called known monikers Explorer that references both of those. And if I install that inside, if I want to install that inside Visual Studio 2022, now that will just no-op the 2019 because it doesn't apply to that SKU.
Okay.
If I were to double-click the V6, the extension pack V6, and I got the V6 installer up, it will also no-op the ones that don't apply. And so that is one way you today can have a single point of entry, but from multiple different versions of your extension. The only problem is that all those child extensions, they are all visible on the marketplace. I've been lobbying for having a way to do unlisted extensions because that would enable this scenario completely. Where you would just have one public entry basically that people could search for and find, and everything would still work. So yeah, so that's how that works. So you can totally do that and just have one link that you send out in your marketing material or whatever.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'm happy we got one done. That was good. So this one we're going to rename to 2019. We're going to rename this in the IntelliSense here to 2019. And then I'm going to just do this again because, first of all, we might actually run into things that we haven't seen before that is worth exploring. But also, like, it's kind of the same thing we're doing, but then maybe you're going to catch something you didn't see the first time we did it. So I'm going to come in. I'm going to create a new folder called whatever the name of my project is. It's called VSCT Completion 2019. Boom. And then I'm going to move all of the things into that. There we go. And then I'm going to update my solution file. Open with Note to the pad. And it goes in there. And so now we just open that again. Hang on, was that already open? What is this? Oh, reload. Yeah. Okay, so I don't actually have to. Okay, that's good to know. I don't actually have to close everything. It just reloads. Good to know. Good to know. Okay, so where did we come from? We said add new project, and we want a share project. And we want to call this VSCT completion shared. And that goes into our SRC folder. Boom. And so here we have the same thing. So here we have a bunch of meth components, right? So quick info providers, go to definition, creation listeners, this, that, and the other, completion. So I want to take all this stuff, extension methods. Notice that this does not have a package class. That's kind of interesting. Okay, so we move that into shared. Oh, it's moved into shared, but then I have to actually, I should have cut it and pasted it. So now I'll just have to delete it. And then we add a reference, shared reference, VSCT, bada boom. And let's compile this. Oh, it's because we probably need to update our build tools to 17. That is already 17. Oh, so what was complaining about? What is that complaining about? Oh, that's just, okay. It's just, we just need a restart. So I did need a restart. Oh yeah, the license path. Thanks, Rasmus. Yeah, so Rasmus, he had that tweet yesterday about opening, was it a 57 project solution? It's like, which is a big solution, right? Twice as fast in 2022 as it was in 2019. So that's fantastic. You got a bunch of retweets there, Rasmus. There was a lot of people that thought that was cool. Okie dokie. So we have to update our license file. I forgot to do that. So let's go ahead and our CS project file. License. There we go. You want to reload? Yes, yes. And now we do a clean. I do have tweaks installed, the extension called tweaks. And so that will completely nuke the bin and OBJ folders. Let's see if it works this time. Boom. It works. Good. So we compile against this 20. So 2019 works just fine. So now we just have to go to in here, copy that, call it 2022. Like nuke the .user. We don't need that. Rename 2022. Nuke the bin and OBJ because why not, right? And then all we have to do is to change the, again, important. I should write these steps down. Change the GUID, the project GUID just by one character. So instead of 76 to 75, I'm doing 76 at the end there. It's just because the solution need the difference when we add them side by side. I'm going to add existing project. This was the VSCT Intelligence Source 2022. Boom. There we go. So in this one, we want to make sure, first of all, that it's called 2022. We want to give it a different name. So this is 9. We just give it 0 on the GUID here. Just have to be a different one. So now we're in here. We're going to update our support, our installation target matrix to be from 17 inclusive to 18 exclusive. And we want to specify that we are indeed supporting 64-bit. Notice that all of these have to compile into any CPU. So once you do any CPU, it's all good. So let's update our NuGet packages. So we need the latest. So what are we using? I don't know if we're so this one doesn't use the. So I could just nuke all these and install the. Yeah, I'll just do that. I'm just gonna install all these small ones. I should have done that in the beginning, like uninstalled from my 2019. Just moved modernized it by moving things over to the Visual Studio SDK meta package. But it that's a minor detail. Modernizing it in this sense is more like, hey, it's more important that you package references than that you use this particular API. Okay. And the last one. And then we're going to install the Microsoft Visual Studio SDK. And sometimes you have to type it twice, funny enough, for it to show up. And we're going to target 17. Install that thing. Accept. Okay. So that was it. Let's set this as our startup project. Let's rebuild this. Let's see if it compiles against 2022. X element. Oh, system XML link. So I need to add that. Oh, so that I had sort of referenced before, I guess. So system XML.link. There it is. Oh, interesting. How did that disappear? Okay. Does it compile against 17? That is the question. Come on. Okay. Let's run this.
I just have to, this is great. Imo says he just figured you have built 2,635 extensions, which completely makes sense.
Yeah.
He thought it was console app 2,635. Nice.
So let's see here. I might have two things installed now, so we're going to disable one of them. Nope, just one of them. Good. So let's go and open our VSCT file, any VSCT file. I don't have any right here, so let's just go to our, what did we call it? V6 Project 11, VSCT. Okay, let's clean it up. There we go. Okay, so now, will I get IntelliSense in here? Yes, indeed. Let's just continue with this. Let's include the VS Globals, and so VS main menu. I should now be able to say tools dot yeah, external tools, right? External tools group. Boom. So that actually I can't do because that is a tool. So I can just say it's a group. There we go. Anyway, so that seems to work. Fantastic. And let's just do the Guit image catalog here. Does that also work? Save. No. What? Do you want to save this? No, I don't. Okay, so there's something in the MEF. That would be my Quig info, maybe. Moniker. No. Okay, I'm shouting here at my find. Read me. Okay, Get known monikers, Guit, simple ID providers. 2-bitmap, here we go. So why did this fail? Well, let's find out, shall we? Let's see if we can attach the debugger this time. Ah, hang on. Am I using the DT somewhere? To bitmap async. Where do I use this? Where does it come from? In here, bitmap source. No, it doesn't allow me to do that. That's so bizarre. So bizarre. Okay. I mean, this will do for now till I update my VS and I get one that works. But let's just see if there's something in here that to bitmaps, if there's anything that like sticks out. Okay. Throw on failure. That's fine. To object async. Here we go. We get the image service 2. And do I have the latest stuff? Let's just see here what. Oh. Why does this? Oh, hang on. 2022. Where is this defined? 17.0. So that's right. Okay. So are we using any weird stuff? Do I have any? No. Okay. Well, I don't know, but let's just get this out there. Let's just get this out there for now, so that we're unblocking us from the rest of the features, right? So I forget I need to go in here, not do that, but we need to do our token replacements. This time we're going to do it in VSCT. No. VSCT completions. No, just completion 2019 and 2022. And this time I'll do it right. Wait and see. No, not quite. Boom. There we go. And this should not be previewed, just 2019, publish to gallery. Everything is good. Everything is fine. This is going to work so fantastically. Added support for VS 2022. Okay. Let's see here. Any questions while we see here?
No, not really. Not anything new.
There's one here. Steffi asked, your installation target is community. Let's look at my installation target. It is community. But there are more to choose from, right? There's Pro, there's Enterprise, and so on. Does that mean it's community and above? Yes, that's exactly what it means. If I said Pro, it wouldn't work in. No, Pro will also work in community. If I said Enterprise, it would only work in Enterprise. And there's a few others that are like specific, like the test one, and build tools specific. So if you just say community, that basically means everywhere, all versions of Visual Studio. Okay, where is there is. So let's go back and see. Oh, VSCT Intelligence. It seemed to be building. It only produced one V6. Now, what's that about? 2019. Why? Oh, why? Are you only compiling one? I'm just calling MS build on it. I'm not calling out the solution. That's like Did I not save the solution or something like that?
I don't know. Imo was saying he thought that Pro and Community is the same SKU. It just differs by licensing.
Yeah, that's right. That's why if you say if your target is Pro, then I think it also works in Community. Now this bothers me. Why does this not work in both of these? Let me just clean the solution, and then we build. I want to see if it builds both of these. So now 2022. Yikes! Oh, I need to fix this. Check this out. Open archive. Look at this. It just puts all this stuff in there. Yikes! That's ugly, and we have to do that. And let's find our VSSDK. Here we go. Exclude assets. Runtime. Save that. Reload all. And then there we go. Still not quite. Look how big that is. So something is. Oh, it's because of all of this. All those folders are in there probably. Let's see. No. Resources 800. Menus. Oh, yeah, that's right. This particular one packs a bunch of menus in it. That's right. Images. Okay, so anyway, so that was 2022. That seemed to work, but is it not building 2019 then? Yeah. Diagnostics. What is it doing with that? Oh, it doesn't end up in there though. Okay, so why is that solution not building both? Well, that's a conundrum. Let's see here. What does this say? Oh, so much for that. Only do it on the main thread. So we get a compiler warning. That's okay. And then we get another compiler warning, which is the same, but it doesn't look like it's. Oh, here it's building 2022. Oh, hang on. It's because it's the same one. I don't.
Yeah.
Why is it not renamed? That's because, haha. Yeah, why is that? Root namespace, assembly name. Here we go. So which one is it that I need to update? Is it assembly name? Let's just build this and take a look. Yeah, assembly name.
Did you update the project GUID?
Yeah. I believe I did. Okay, so now, so renamed assembly name. No. Yeah, so both artifacts were there, but they just override each other because they have the same file name. So that means that we can now. Do you want to reload this? No. I want to open a project. The last thing we need to do is to go into our extensibility essentials and add these two new extensions to the 2022 version. Here they are. So here we go. So we have the known monikers Explorer. Known monikers. Come on, go away. Name here known. And what is the actual URL of these? I think I have to make this public. Make public. Yep. And then we can open it and we can just go into the marketplace and click copy ID. Go back here. Control paste. Boom. That was known monikers Explorer. Let's do the next one was VSCT IntelliSense. And that's the one we got open, right? So we can just copy its thing from right here. That was the 2022 Guit. Yep. All right. So what did we change in here? Nothing. Okay. So added known monikers and VSCT extensions. Boom. So that's wonderful. And now we can go in. Let's see here. Why did that still uploading 20? Why is it only uploading 2022? Am I that stupid? No, no comment. Did I just update this with yeah, the 2019 I also called 2022. Okay.
I was just going to say that a few people in comments had noticed the same thing.
Okay. Well, that means that our extension pack will be done first. Where are we? There we go. Yeah, they're going to be done around the same time. So I can go into my extension thing here and I can find my, what was it I was going to update? Known moniker, right? Nope. VSCT. This one I want to edit. And now that I'm here, I'm just going to copy this thing. Let's see. Still working on it. (2019, 2022). We got 2 artifacts now. Wonderful. And if I go to my known monikers, or my V6 gallery, I now have extensibility essentials. Yes. And I want, which ones? This is 2017. I want 2022. I want that one. And then I want both of these VSCT intelligence. So this one, I'm just going to upload VSCT intelligence 2019. Yep. Boom. So while that is spinning, we're going to create a new extension. Same thing, 2022. We're going to call this VSCT IntelliSense 2022. Paste in our description markdown. We're going to categories. We're going to say this has to do with extension SDK, tags V6, VSCT. Oh, that is actually a thing. Okay. And then IntelliSense. Oh, that's not a completion. Yeah. Those are apparently not existing tags. We're going to put our GitHub URI in there. Save that. All right, so now they're going. We can take our extensibility essentials. We already have one for 2022. We just need to update that with the latest and greatest. And do that. So now, everybody, I just need to make this 2022. I need to make it public, so I have to wait for that. But that's pretty much it. So what we did today was pretty, I think, like pretty cool. We did. Oh, sorry.
This was a lot of stuff. Wow. Well,
so yeah, we went through a lot, but so let's do like a recap. All right, we try to make our extension compile with the Visual Studio 2017 NuGet package. That's the first thing we do, or rather, the first thing you do is probably that you have to update your extension to use the Visual Studio SDK meta package, Microsoft.visualstudio.sdk, instead of the individual NuGet packages, or instead of individual references to DLLs. Once you've done that, update the NuGet package to 17, open it in Visual Studio 2017 and update the NuGet package. See if everything compiles. If it compiles, there's a chance that you can then run it and it will work.
I just have to point out, in case anyone's confused, you said a few times Visual Studio 2017. It's confusing, right? Because you've got Dev 17, which is Visual Studio 2022. And we try not to use that 17 name publicly, except the SDK version is 17, right? So
like this is the one show where we, or the one thing where we consistently publicly talk about the internal version of Visual Studio.
Yeah.
And so,
all right. So I'm sorry, I interrupted, but you were
Nope.
saying you update to use the meta package instead of individually referencing the NuGet packages.
yeah, just because that's going to be much easier. And it might be good for you to modernize your extension anyway. It's going to be easier to maintain and those sort of things. So go ahead and do that. Okay, so now that you've figured out whether if it runs under with Visual Studio 2017 using the 2017 SDK, no, the 17 SDK, 2022 SDK. Then you try again. You try to roll it back to version 15 of the SDK, let's say, or whatever it was that you had before, 15 or 16. And then you try to run it again in Visual Studio 2022. And if it still works, you have to test every single feature. Okay. You basically have to execute all code paths to figure this out, because as we demonstrated, some of these don't actually show till you hit the code path, because the contracts are the same and all this sort of stuff. But once you hit it, it's weird, right? Like the DTE thing we saw. You might have to do a little bit of restructuring, like a few code modifications here and there. But as you know, so it might take you a while to, if you have a larger extension, to go through it. And if everything works in 2022 using the older SDK, then you're good to go. Okay. Remember, you need to update the build tools as well. Otherwise, your CI wouldn't work. If you cannot do this, if there's something that's like you have a tool window, that seems to be a showstopper, right? Or even if you have a regular command and you do text changes in your before query status, that is not something that is something that is impacted by interrupt changes. So that will not work. So you might see yourself having to do the split. And so the guidance on the doc. So if you're on YouTube, down below, there's a link to the documentation on how to split your extension. And that's basically what we did with 2 extensions. We made that split using the shared project to hold the common code. And the difference between the 2 projects was basically just the references to the NuGet packages. And I could have split in even more stuff out. I could have stuff like the icon and stuff could have been like linked in, just like the license file was like a linked file. So I could have shared more between them than I did. So that's kind of up to you how far you want to take that sharing. But that's basically it. And so it's kind of cool that you can just copy things down to a shared project and it kind of just works. It's, yeah. Some tech just work the way you think it should work. So
that's cool. Some neat pro tips. The DTE2 thing was fun.
Yeah,
a lot of good stuff.
Honestly,
people loved seeing. I love watching like the problem solving. Like as you ran into issues, finding what's wrong and fixing it. It's just good to see, debugging. We have people watching and saying like, not even sure what's happening, but it's just fun to watch. So that's that's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. It was too bad that my VS instance is host, so I couldn't actually attach the debugger. It would have been nice to just fix that issue with the VSCT IntelliSense. I wonder if once I figure it out that I didn't actually have to then split it. But I'm pretty sure because I did it like a couple of days ago, and then the debugger worked fine, and I just forget what the issue was. I thought it was just that the reference was wrong.
I'll be honest. While I was hosting this, I was also chatting with Dan Roth, and he was helping me fix my broken .NET SDK install, which I got working. But it's like there's a lot changing right now. There's like early previews of .NET. There's MAUI tooling. There's Visual Studio is going through big changes with 64-bit. On VS Mac, we're like doing a full-on UI rewrite to move to native like Cocoa implement. I mean, there's just a lot changing right now. So it's brave of you to be like one of the first live streams with Visual Studio 2022, doing some in-depth stuff. So,
and no one noticed, but I'm on preview too. Like early days, right? So anyway, here's a good question. Can extensions be written with a SDK style project? Yes, it can, but you're not gonna get the designers working for, like, when you open the V6 manifest, you're not gonna get the designer. There's two other things. Oh yeah, the item templates. When you say add new item, you can add a command or whatever. They don't show up. I feel like there's one more thing, but you can do it like Andrew Arnott. He always does that, but he's also a very sort of to the metal type of person. So so I don't do it because I kind of want that visual tooling. I don't feel I need to go to an SDK. I don't know. The only thing I would get would be to edit my project file directly, but there's an extension for that, and I just should install it. Yeah. So you can do it with any project type. What else do we have?
Let me see.
Why was it? Okay, here's one from Rasmus. Why was it not needed to change the assembly names in the known monikers solution? Yeah. Why was that? Why was that not? Should it have been? Where's the known monikers? That is a Alt Enter, right? Known monikers Explorer. And then this one is also just known monikers Explorer. So why did that work? It didn't. Because it didn't. Well, I'll have to get this dance again, but I won't take you hostage while I do that. Let me just commit this. What did I just do? I just updated. Oh, it was big. Well, I'm confused. Did I not just update both of them? Okay. I am confused. So so I do have two known monikers Explorer because I already had. I don't know. I don't know. Okay. Well, anywho. Sorry, I was on my screen doing the thing. So, but Rasmus, you're absolutely right. I just changed it so that the known monikers assembly names are also updated. So I have to update that on the gallery, and I'll now make public the extension for the VSCT IntelliSense. Gonna go public right now. It's available. So that means that now we have the extensibility essentials is now full complete, and that's wonderful. We just need Paul Harrington's. No, it's not fully incomplete. We need Paul Harrington's settings explorer, registry key settings explorer, and Jan, we need your extensibility logs, my friend.
One question here. Cynthia was asking if the V6 package name needs to match the assembly name.
I don't know. Like, is there a different setting for it, like an MS build property or something like that we can use? Maybe. I don't actually honestly know. Yeah.
Wow. Well, is that a good place to stop? You covered a heck of a lot.
I think so. We had a lot of viewers this time around.
Yeah. This is great.
It's your star power, John.
I'm going to take all the credit.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, is there a built-in exception log like in Eclipse? Imo, are you talking about the activity log? Yes, there's a built-in one. And Jan, he has an extension that exposes that and makes it easy to find. Otherwise, it's not easy to find at all. Hey, Imo, if you're going to do some extensions, I'd be happy to help you out.
That would be a show I'd like to see. I'd love to see you like pair with Emu and like build an extension. That would be quite fun. We'd have to bleep it out a little bit, but
it would have to be bleeped out. And I don't know. I don't think Emu has coded anything in years. Is that right?
I saw him write a compiler. He was doing that whole live coding compiler. Oh, another thing I got to give props to. There's the issues of .NET. There's themes of .NET. There's all these different like of .NET. Have you checked those out recently?
Like the .com, like issuesof.net.com?
No, it's .of.net.
So like, of and then .net.
Yeah. Like, here, let me share one real quick. Themes of .NET. I will share my screen just because I don't know. I'm a fan of these sites. Okay. So for instance, here's themes of .NET, right? And so these are all the themes that they're working on for .NET 6, right? And then you can browse in, and then you can go down, and these are like generated from all the issues, right? And so you can go and you can say like, Blazor. Okay, what's going on with Blazor? You can dig into all this. So this is generated from that. And there's a bunch of other ones. And then there's issues of .NET. And these are cool because they're Blazor sites. And so you can search across like, I don't know, SDK or whatever. You can find all the issues related to .NET. Because there's a lot of different .NET Core repos, right, and stuff in the org. So anyways, there's a bunch of others. These are the ones that I've been using recently, but there's others where they use for tracking the upvotes and to see what community interest is in different areas. So, and this one, for instance, this themes of .NET, it's a Blazor site, and you can check out the source for it. And yes, I just have to defend Emo. He's been writing a ton of code recently, which is pretty cool.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Yeah.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, all right. I think we should all it's the weekend now.
It's the weekend. And the Australians watching, Jan, Steven, they probably haven't even had breakfast yet. Poor guys.
Okay. Well, let's let them go then.
Yeah, let's do it. And,
okay.
So keep the questions coming. Okay. This might be a little bit harder for some, depending on your extensions and so on. And, but we're here to help. So reach out. Twitter is the best place to do that. And don't be shy. And I hope to see you again next time. We'll see what the topic is going to be. We never know. It might be more 2022 goodness. We'll see. Until then, have a great weekend.